1, batch, 2, batch, penny, and dime.
Most people survive loss. They process it, they carry it, and eventually they keep living. Frank Castle had a Sunday afternoon in Central Park with his wife and 2 children. When the crossfire stopped, they were gone. Frank Castle did not survive it. He died right there on the grass with them. What happened next was an act of operational self-erasure. He systematically dismantled every attachment that made him a functioning human being. He stopped maintaining relationships, and he stopped planning for a future. He even stopped treating his own survival as a personal goal. Breathing, eating, and sleeping simply became logistical requirements to keep the mission running. Looking at this schematic of his operational icon, you can see the skull is not designed as a threat to his enemies. It is an admission. It is the symbol of someone who has already accepted their own death and is deciding what to do with the time between now and when it catches up with them. The human being ends where the objective begins. There is no Frank Castle left to protect. There is only the mission. To understand how grief powers a vigilante, we look at Peter Parker as a baseline for a normal, heroic response. Castle refused to integrate his loss as a part of his identity. He engineered his life so the loss became the entirety of it. Peter Parker also lost people he loved because of his own choices. He uses the guilt of that loss as fuel to maintain his humanity and build relationships. The difference between grief as fuel and grief as identity is the difference between a fire that heats a house and a fire that consumes it. Peter Parker tends the fire. Frank Castle walked into it and decided to become it. For him, grief is no longer a temporary emotional state to be worked through. It is an irreversible operational decision, a choice he made in a hospital waiting room, one he never unmade. There is another baseline we have to look at: moral limiters. Matt Murdock drew a strict line. He refuses to use lethal force, and he defends that boundary at enormous personal cost, even while criminals build empires in the seconds he hesitates. Castle crossed that line. Then he turned around and burned it. His doctrine is absolute, terminal justice. If you harm innocent people, you forfeit your right to exist. There are no trials, there is no rehabilitation. The sentence is already written. He ceases to be a person and becomes completely a weapon. When a person becomes a weapon, they undergo a process of total reduction. Weapons cannot rest, they cannot heal, and they cannot build. His daily existence is purely tactical. He cannot sit in a quiet room without plotting an exit route, or form a bond without calculating its potential as a weakness. The ultimate cost of the Punisher is paid by Castle himself through the total loss of ordinary human experience. He has achieved his goal of becoming a tool of absolute, unerring efficiency. By every tactical measure, he won his war. But because he dismantled his humanity to do it, he has no psychological mechanism left to survive the resulting peace. This reaches beyond the world of vigilantes and speaks directly to our own experiences with wounds and loss. Your grief will shape you. That is unavoidable. The only question is whether those wounds will shape you or whether you will let them replace you. Next time, we look at a man who has endured 150 years of constant war, watching everyone he has ever loved age and die. Unlike Frank Castle, he tried to operationally erase himself, but his physical biology simply refused to let him die. We have to ask, what does a world of endless loss cost a man who was entirely incapable of escaping it? Subscribe below. That conversation starts next Friday.